Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for joining our SLED Fiscal Year-End Battlefield call, and thanks for taking some time out of your day today. We have a really exciting call for you guys. So I will go ahead and jump in. So for today's speakers, most of you guys know me, but my name is Megan Shoemaker, and I am the Channel Development Rep for the Digital Design team at DLT. And we also have Kaylee on the line, as always, who is our Marketing Campaign Manager. And then we are really excited to welcome Allison and Patrick to our call today. They are both with CJIS Group and are going to be talking to you guys some more about the state agencies and things that are going on there. So just a quick agenda to highlight what you can expect today. So as always, I'm going to highlight a channel update. So going to talk about what's going on with our partner program and then our sales team specifically at DLT. And then Kaylee's going to highlight what's been going on with our campaigns and is going to talk a little bit today about the DLT lead stages and what that really means. And then again, really excited to highlight CJIS Group, and they're going to be talking about SLED agencies and opportunities, and then the impacts of different things that have been going on in our government, such as the American Rescue Plan and the infrastructure bill. So again, really excited to welcome them. And then also wanted to just highlight, if you guys have any questions at all throughout the presentation, there is both a questions feature and a chat feature that you can utilize where you can send those questions to the organizer, the presenter of the call. So please feel free to utilize that if you do have any questions, and we will get to those at the end. Okay, so jumping into our channel update first. So first, for our Better Together program update, I wanted to provide a Q1 summary for you all for our premier partners. So we currently have 6 partners in this first tier of our program. And in Q1, those 6 partners did a little bit over 13 million in Autodesk software sales, and then a little over 650K in services. So this is up 12% year over year for software sales, but down about 2% for services. So about flat there. So again, really strong quarter. And then additionally, our 6 partners did run 17 marketing campaigns and made 15 contributions to our GovDesign Hub site. So really significant numbers there. And thank you to everyone that contributed to this. And overall, we're expecting a really strong Q2. And in order to have growth from Q2 of last year, our 6 partners need to exceed 19.5 million in both software sales and services. And based on what we're forecasting right now, that is looking attainable, and hoping that's something we can achieve together this quarter. So next, I wanted to highlight some Autodesk news that you all might have seen on Autodesk website specifically, but many of us know that the digital transformation of the AEC industry in the US is really picking up steam as governments are driving the adoption of BIM policies. So we're all aware of what BIM offers and the promise that it has with seamless collaboration. And Autodesk leadership is really highlighting this and has started sharing this with leadership specifically in Washington, D.C. So also they're really highlighting the benefits that other countries have seen from adopting these standards, especially the UK's BIM program. And the UK's program, it cost them about $5 million to implement, but it has led to 33% lower construction cost and 50% faster delivery. So clearly worth the investment there. And right now, we all know that some U.S. government agencies are requiring BIM for their capital projects, but it can be inconsistent across the agencies that are actually doing that because they're all being, formulated independently of one another. So the goal here that Autodesk really highlighted in this article is to get these BIM standards consistent across the US. And while there's an obvious challenge with that, Autodesk thinks that highlighting the agencies that we all are working with and that have already adopted these standards are where we need to begin the discussion and become advocates for us, because like the UK success, they've all made the benefits of it very clear. So Autodesk really had a call to action for us as the government partners, and that's to really be a part of directing the future of BIM standards in the US, and to be sharing these stories and really be a part of the conversation, around moving forward with more consistent standards in the country. So next, for our DLT updates, first, we will now be actually extending to a 60-day quote expiration versus the previous 30-day quote expiration. So really exciting news there. And this new extension is only going to be applying to open market quotes and will not apply to any quotes using a cooperative contract such as GSA. So exciting news for DLT and you all, because this should help to reduce the number of quotes that our team is needing to generate, which of course, frees up our reps' time to focus on other activities such as outbound selling. And then for our customers, this 60-day expiration is really going to help alleviate the burden of them having to always be requesting updated quotes, and hopefully will help them get the quotes through their procurement process faster as well. So our team is going to be providing these 60-day quotes by default. But then, of course, we'll be providing a shorter quote expiration when things are coming up, such as a subscription expiration or an end of quarter or a discount that is expiring or some other similar scenario. So they'll be doing those by default, but then we'll do shorter when it's necessary. So I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that. And then also wanted to make sure you were aware, I'm sure many of you have seen in the Autodesk channel news that they are retiring the availability of box software. But we did want to announce that DLT is still able to make media requests for government customers that cannot connect to the internet. So if you have a customer that is running into that and does need a hard copy, since they cannot connect to the internet, please just feel free to work directly with your DLT account manager, and they can put in those requests directly to Autodesk for you. And then next, just as a friendly reminder, I wanted to highlight that the reseller record change policy that was rolled out in February. So just as a reminder, this did state that any reseller record changes need to be completed 90 days before a contract expiration in order to qualify for being the reseller of record or commission or attainment or all of those things that come with an order. So any forms that are completed less than 90 days, we certainly can process, but those will be processed after this year's order is submitted to Autodesk. So if you do get one that's less than 90 days, certainly inform us. We can make sure that those are processed after we submit that order. But one thing that I really specifically wanted to highlight that we have seen happen is to please, if you do get reseller record change forms for any government customer, please make sure that you're sending those to DLT for us to process. Because if forms are submitted directly to Autodesk, which you all are able to do, there's a chance that we will not be made aware of the change and therefore can potentially be a paying commission to the incorrect partner. So please make sure if you do receive those, you're sending it to whoever the applicable DLT account manager is, and we'll make sure that those are handled correctly for you all. And then lastly, just wanted to provide an update on what's going on with our sales team. So we had a really successful Blitz days in May and June. As you'll see, for both of those days, we actually had 24 leads, which is a funny consequence, but really great amount of leads there, and then a little over 1,600 calls for both of those Blitz days. So as you all are aware, we did, at the beginning of this fiscal year, move the Blitz days to being 2 days instead of 1. And of course, even though our team is a little slower to respond to inbound requests these days, we really are seeing an uptick in leads and calls that are being generated. So we certainly think that, moving to that 2 days is worth it for us and you all, of course. And then wanted to just put a reminder of our upcoming Blitz days in July and August. So if you guys think that you might have a request that's coming through those days, it could potentially be urgent. Try to get it to our team before they have to Blitz if possible. That does help them respond to it quicker if they can get to those requests before they need to Blitz. And then lastly, for me, just wanted to inform you all that the old DLT fax number is not going to be available anymore. So this was an older number that we were seeing some customers were still utilizing. But so we have canceled that number, and moving forward, please make sure that your customers are aware to use the DLT account manager's fax number that is referenced directly on the quote. So you'll see the example there for Urban, and the fax number is actually the exact same number as their phone number. But this is a good option because when the customers send it to this number, then it does go directly to the account manager's email, whereas before they would have had to go into a separate folder to look for those orders, but these will go directly to them, and therefore they'll be able to process those orders faster. So if they send it to the old number and get some error, wanted to make sure you guys were aware that they should be sending it to that account manager directly. But that is all for my section. So with that, I will pass it over to Kaylee, and she will be highlighting the marketing section.
Thank you, Megan. Hi, everyone. I wanted to go over some marketing updates today to give you an idea of sort of where we're going, what we're currently working on, and then provide some clarification on some of the terminology and acronyms that you're seeing on reporting from DLT. So I'm going to start just by going over high-level campaigns, what we're currently running, which includes State Fiscal Year-End and Construction Cloud. Some things that are in development, which are the Advanced Manufacturing for Mission Critical Operations campaign, and then really go through a few acronyms that you are seeing pretty often on your pipeline reports, and sort of what those translate to in-house and how to better understand those reports, because I feel like there could be a little bit more clarification on that from us. So high-level overview. So for our campaigns currently, our State Fiscal Year-End campaign is almost wrapping up. Everything's running through June 30th, but really the majority of our work is already done. We had a pretty robust State Fiscal Year-End campaign that really targeted our existing state, local, and education contacts, really pushing customers to spend their budget dollars on Autodesk software before State Fiscal Year-End on June 30th for the majority of states. We really position solutions like Construction Cloud and AEC Industry Collection, letting agencies know that they can plan, design, and maintain communities with Autodesk software, and highlighting some specific examples depending on what area of the government they are in. So targeted emails for state and local general agencies that have sort of administrative functions, emails and content for transportation and DOTs, and then another series that was targeted at higher education and K-12 public schools. At the end of the day, we ended up sending, I believe, 10 emails, doing maybe a dozen or so social media posts, paid ads, really driving people to our landing page where they could request more information, get a quote, connect with a sales rep. Our goal for this campaign was 300 marketing qualified leads. With 2 weeks to go, we have about 240 or 250 in the system. So pretty close to what we set out to do with still a couple weeks left. So just wanted to provide a high-level update on this. As a clarification point, it is partner agnostic, so this was not affiliated with any partner. It's just to help drive demand gen for all partners. So that's why you see pretty neutral, just focused on Autodesk messaging. And this was not a campaign in a box or anything. This was created in-house for DLT and Autodesk. So the second campaign that we're working on that launched earlier this month is focused on Construction Cloud as a new offering. So this is something that Autodesk is really interested in focusing, marketing again to the state and local and education sector. Really at the end of the day, the key thing we're trying to drive here is, identifying customer pain points that regardless of where they are in state and local government, data silos are really hampering the progress that they can make, and it's leading to a lot of projects, regardless of what industry it's in, to come in over budget and, too late. I mean, anyone who lives in the DC area can probably attest to the ongoing metro projects that have been happening and how many times they have been extended. So Construction Cloud is really a solution that can give government agencies and state and local market really the workflows and data streams that they need to design, manage, and construct a project regardless of industry, all the way from beginning to close out. So similar to the state fiscal year-end campaign, this campaign is really going to focus on, again, really targeted email segments, going to different types of audiences, promoting different assets like this ebook sample that's featured here, articles, blogs, case studies, white papers. These are all being produced with Autodesk or existing assets that we have to drive demand generation for all of you as sort of another partner agnostic campaign. So those are sort of campaign overviews. Those are going to be running for the next couple of months. I also wanted to provide, like I said, a better understanding of some of the terminology that you might be seeing or hearing when we have conversations about how marketing is driving demand generation and, more importantly, conversion rates across the sales funnel. So here at DLT, we call things by a few different acronyms that might not necessarily line up with what you guys are used to hearing. So I wanted to sort of go through this slide with you and give you a little bit of clarity. So when we're talking about marketing leads, we're really talking about how people are getting into the sales funnel and how we're driving them through the middle of the funnel to the bottom to close out business. So on my side, marketing, I'm really responsible for identifying prospects, visitors, and then how those marketing leads, what we call marketing qualified leads or MQLs, are those customers that are ready for sales to take on, qualify and understand what their what products might be best for them. So all MQLs on your pipeline reports show up as prospects or P. And that's sort of the number of leads that are loaded into the system for each campaign. So usually this is between like 50 or 100 at a time. And these are people who've taken some discrete action, like they've clicked an email to go to a landing page a couple times, they filled out a form, they've downloaded a piece of content, really a discrete action where they've indicated interest, they're interested in learning more, but we really need sales to better qualify. So once MQLs are loaded into the system, sales takes over. And as you can see here, they are really responsible for following up to see what the customer is interested in, using existing assets to understand what touch points they've had, and where we might be able to, either upsell or, drive new seat growth. So once sales has qualified something, it turns into a qualified prospect on your report QPs, or what we call a sales accepted lead, an SAL. This is really them saying, yes, we've talked to this person, we've made contact with this person, they have some level of interest, and we're going to continue nurturing them through the sales funnel. Once that lead has been qualified additionally by either a lead pass or some sort of client or vendor saying we also agree that this is the right contact and we're ready to provide a quote, that's when it turns into a sales qualified lead, that lead pass. So again, you can sort of see how we're translating these things across what we call them and what show up on your report. Once it's a lead pass and sales has qualified that lead, you'll see it show up under quotes, and that's where you'll see dollar amounts associated with individual lead sources, and then hopefully most of those dollar amounts move to wins. So I really just wanted to give a high-level overview of what this is, the common terminology, because I feel like sometimes when we have our conversations and ongoing check-ins, it could be clear on our side of what we mean when we say prospect versus qualified prospect, and how those common acronyms in the industry like MQL, SAL, and SQL correspond with what you're seeing on your pipeline reports and how I'm communicating about it with all of you. So I hope that this has given you a bit more insight, help you better understand the reports. And if you do have questions, please feel free to send me an email. I'm happy to email with you, or if you want to hop on a call or just talk about it on our next check-in, that's also perfectly fine. And with that, I will hand it back to Megan.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kaylee. Well, yeah, with that, going to introduce our guest speakers. So Allison and Patrick are with CJIS Group. And again, they're really going to talk about what's going on with the state and local government. So with that, I will hand it over to you guys, Allison and Patrick.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. If you'll go ahead and go over to the next slide. So as Megan mentioned, I'm Allison Horn. I'm Director of Client Success, and we're really happy to be part of this SLED Fiscal Year and Battle Card call today. And I thought I would share a little bit about CJIS Group, what we do and who we are, to give you a better understanding of some of the data that we're going to share with you today. We have been helping technology vendors navigate the SLED market by providing information about upcoming plans that agencies are purchasing as far as technology goes. How are they organized and structured? Awarded details for competitive market data. And we speak with government contacts to gather these insights within agencies. And so our customers make up a variety of SLED tech vendors. We have the largest technology companies in the world down to smaller companies that might have a very niche targeted solution for the SLED market. We also have long-standing relationship with government contacts all over the US. As Megan said, joining me today is going to be Patrick Schutzman. He is a senior research analyst, and together we're going to share some trends impacting the public sector, information about the American Rescue Act, and infrastructure funding and the current status of the infrastructure bill. So I think it's important too for us to share how we identified SLED agencies, and we identify them as government-funded entities within state and local education departments. And we categorize them into business segments for easy understanding. And so we can see a few examples here: transportation, courts, and even general services. If we can go to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about the percentages we see in here. And these percentages are going to be technology procurement activities. And two of the largest business segments where we have seen the most activity are going to be education and general services. So those two segments alone make up slightly over half of the SLED market. Now, that's not to say that other segments don't see as much funding. And I thought, since general services was the largest segment, I'd have Patrick tell us a little more about that segment and what it entails. So Patrick, can you share a little more about the general services segment?
Of course, Allison. So there are a number of different agencies that we group into general services that don't always fit into the other areas. So some of the most prominent ones being administrative and technology agencies, such as IT departments. These agencies will frequently take lead on projects whose scope may lie in some of the other categories, such as IT taking point on a project for the Public Works Department. Since these general service agencies work in conjunction with all other agencies, it can skew the representation in the overall market. So I hope I can give a little bit of clarification on that segment.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. All right, we could go to the next slide, Megan. All right, so let's talk about some trends that we saw in technology purchases for 2020. In this slide, we see the top 10 solutions, and there were a number of opportunities within the SLED market that we saw purchases for. Among those, the highest are going to be fiber, followed by security cameras and cloud services. If we take a look at the next slide, we're going to see what was most active for 2021 in the first quarter. So again, we're going to see fiber as the most purchased, followed by security camera, and then we're going to see a bit of a shift. Here we see the third item being records management system. So now I'm going to have Patrick share with you a little bit about some of the funding that you'll be interested in. Patrick? Hey, Patrick, I think you might be on mute.
Apologies. Thank you, Allison. Now looking at what is going to be impacting the number of technology solicitations in projects in the coming quarters, a major focus is on the effects of the American Rescue Plan, which was passed back on March 11th, and we're now seeing the increase in the available funds to state and local governments. With over $350 billion dedicated to these agencies in the American Rescue Plan, compared with the previous $139 billion provided in the CARES Act, one key area of focus is in the funds dedicated to transportation. So there was roughly $43.2 billion set aside for the U.S. Department of Transportation, which was allocated in three major areas: transit, aviation, and Amtrak. Now, looking into some of those details, we see that $30.5 billion was set aside for transit-related expenses that included transportation improvement programs, long-range transportation plans, and so many more, all while additionally providing funds for payroll and operational expenses. In addition to transit, there was established funding for aviation to the tune of $8 billion. Included in those funds was $608 million that could be used for airport development projects, which cover a multitude of different areas such as construction, engineering, and technology. And when looking at the technology projects, it can cover a wide range. For example, precision approach systems, safety and security equipment, interactive training systems, conveyance systems, and many more. And finally, we also saw $1.7 billion in funding for Amtrak in order to recall the furloughed employees, restore daily long-distance service, and help states cover lost revenue and state support routes. So an exciting update to the American Rescue Plan is the release of the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds that includes over $219 billion appropriated to states, territories, and tribal governments to help mitigate the fiscal effects stemming from COVID-19. With this release, the U.S. Department of the Treasury published their interim final rule for these funds, which gives further explanation on their use. It allows recipients the broad latitude to use them for the provision of government services, and those services can include maintenance or PAYGO-funded building of infrastructure, including roads, and also allows for investment in building, maintaining, or upgrading water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So we'll likely be seeing an increase in the number of those broadband projects, fiber expansions, and metering efforts. So now the American Rescue Plan was passed for, just as the title suggests, to rescue important sectors of the economy. The funding helps to keep transportation and public works projects on track and allows these agencies to maintain critical infrastructure. However, in looking towards the future, the upcoming infrastructure bill would allow for a greater expansion of our infrastructure. The original plan that the current administration put forward was for a $2.3 trillion investment. But as negotiations with GOP leadership have ended, the focus has pivoted to a bipartisan plan that has been put forth. This plan would dedicate $1.2 trillion in spending over the next 8 years, with $974 billion being spent in the first 5. Included in that amount would be over $579 billion in new spending, with the primary focus currently being on core physical infrastructure. Some other details to note are that the plan anticipates being paid for without tax hikes, and would potentially utilize a lot of unspent COVID relief funds. However, the specifics regarding the full scope of the plan have yet to be worked out, and we expect to see more details in the coming weeks about the full plan and the viability of reaching a deal in Congress. But once a deal does move forward, we expect the influx of spending to create a number of major infrastructure projects across the country. And a key focus moving forward will be in keeping an eye out for capital improvement plans as the new fiscal year starts, and to know what technology may be incorporated into these new and exciting infrastructure opportunities. And so I hope this helps to give a better insight into what's upcoming in this sector of the SLED market. And I'll turn it back over to you, Megan.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allison and Patrick. Very obvious why this is so relevant to DLT and all of our partners, because it's not only just, the state and local markets, but, you guys highlighted it's infrastructure, sewer, water, all of those things that, Autodesk software really serves. So really relevant information, and just wanted to thank you guys again for joining us. But let me see here if we had anything come in. I don't see any questions in the chat, but just wanted to double check. But if you guys do have any questions, my contact information is on the screen. I can always get those over to Allison and Patrick if you do have them. But CJIS is a market research tool that DLT invests in. And if you guys are interested in maybe taking advantage of some of the programs that they have, again, feel free to contact me. I can always get you in contact with Allison or, whoever is best over there. But yeah, in closing, just wanted to thank you all so much for joining. This call has been recorded. We'll be sending it out so that you have access to it. And again, feel free to contact me if you need anything. Other than that, thank you so much again, everyone.